What is up, Nico Nation? Back again, episode 4 of Division Draftables, our NFL draft series that highlights the outlook of your favorite team and all 32 NFL teams as we get closer to training camp and outside of the draft cycle. NFC West edition today. I am your host, Niko Chambers, Nico the Draft Guy. Peyton Dunn is with me, my co-host. We are so excited to get into episode 4 here. Talk a little bit about my Seahawks and the other teams in the NFC West. We'll get this started right away with the Los Angeles Rams. Pete, on talking about the Rams draft, we kind of had a little different opinions on it.
Yeah, big differing opinions on this draft. I think, we both saw Terrence Ferguson as a big overdraft. But, you know, there was reports that came out that they were willing to take him in the first round. And when a team
Whoa.
with a guy like McVay that is that sold on a player, you kind of just trust them with it. Especially when he has such a good history of drafting pass catchers. And then, a guy like Josiah Stewart, they've done fantastic on the edge as well. And they used a high pick on him, a guy that we both liked a good amount through this process. So, we I know you really like Chris Paul Jr.
Yeah.
So they've got some good pieces. Overall, I was not very impressed with this draft. It was more of the way they attacked it rather than the players they got. Did they get some fine players? Yes. But again, was their players much better players they could have gone, much different directions they could have gone? I think so.
Yeah, I think this is kind of similar to wouldn't go to the extent of the Lions draft, but I feel like a lot of this is a reach. I feel like Josiah Stewart it's probably properly rated. For me, I think it's a steal. Maybe for you. But consensus, it's probably he's good there. The main steal is Chris Paul Jr. here. I think he's gonna be a playmaker for them first year in this system. They've kind of lacked that linebacker kind of since B-Wags left after that 1 year. But yeah, it's really forgettable all around. The main thing, obviously, you'll talk about them getting the first round pick, but that has nothing to do with my rating of them or your rating. We're here to rate the players, and not how they got picks along with it. That's great that they do. It's about time that they had a first round pick. We'll talk about that, but yeah, it's just an okay job. I'm not too crazy about what they did. That kind of goes for their off season too. I'm not too crazy about what they did. The main one, Devontae Adams, that's going to be a huge one. They did lose Cooper Kupp, who's now Seattle Seahawk. There's not too much turnover on this team. Pete Dunn, how do we feel about this Rams construction of a roster?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly uneventful. Not a single draft pick is projected to start. I like the Puna Ford signing. And when I say that, I think he's going to be a great role player.
Yeah,
And I think Devontae Adams is old.
yeah.
He was not that productive last year. He hasn't been that productive in a while. So we'll see if, a McVay offense can bring him back to life. If anything can, it would be a McVay offense with Matthew Stafford. But, we'll see. I don't, there really, there isn't a lot to write home about.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. They've done a lot with a little. That's the one key note for a Rams fan. You know, you should have been rebuilding these last 2 years, even with Stafford at the helm, especially with what the defense looked like the last 2 years. But you seem to not be. You seem to be in contention every year. So that's, of course, something to look forward to. Now the question is, can you win the division again? Um, I don't know. That's tough. We'll kind of get into what the Niners look like with their kind of depleted roster, but they have the easiest strength of schedule in the league. Then, of course, the Seahawks have a completely different thing going on. Cardinals, kind of the same. They're going to have something different. It's just, yeah, completely uneventful. I would have to agree with you there. Nothing that screams anything for this Rams team. But talk to me about the picks. What are your five?
Josiah Stewart's my favorite pick. I think he's going to fit in really well with that defense, with that scheme. They've done a great job of developing players, and Josiah Stewart's a guy that hasn't played a lot of edge rusher in his career. So going to be really interesting to see how he transfers over there and continues his development. Chris Paul, Pooh Paul, guy you like a lot more than I do, but I like him
Yeah,
a lot as well. So going to be really cool to see how he fits in. Sleeper Ty Hamilton, a guy that was on my radar. Got him at a good price and got him at a good spot. And then I think Terrence Ferguson is going to come in and be a really good pass catcher for Stafford right now and whoever the next quarterback is over the next few years.
100%. He has to be if you're going to take him. The first pick of this draft. Literally same outlook except just swap your sleeper with Stewart. Um, I 100% agree. Josiah Stewart is my favorite pick and top sleeper. Nobody's talking about this dude, and I think that he brings a physicality off the edge. It's more of a speed rusher, not gonna be your power rusher. That's something that kind of they have the power already. They have, Verse, Fisk, and like all these like big dudes. You need the speed guy, so I really like the pick. And then kind of in a similar way, you need a guy who's going to be able to go sideline to sideline. And I feel like Chris Paul Jr. can do that. Um, Interesting to see what they did with the Ferguson pick, considering they still had Higby and Parkinson. Kind of like a little bit of a three-headed monster at tight end. Usually you're not that deep at the tight end position, to say the least. But the main question here with this Rams team that I have for you is what does the future at the quarterback position look like? How long? I know Stafford just signed a deal, but we know how, teams take on dead money contracts like nothing. You saw Kirk Cousins, that whole thing in Atlanta. What's the outlook for Stafford, in your opinion?
I think Stafford is gonna ride out this year. I think he'll ride out next year, and I think next year he's gonna have a quarterback underneath of him. I think that quarterback is going to be a first round quarterback. I think that's why they got an extra first round pick. I think they're going to use assets to go trade up. Next year's a really good quarterback class. It already is a good quarterback class. It already has guys that would have gone, if available this year, before guys like Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. So they're going to go get a guy. There's multiple guys to get, and I think that's why they got assets. So Stafford's got this year. He'll be a mentor next year, and then who knows what will happen after that.
Can't complain about that if you're a Rams fan. Keep riding it out with the guy who gave you a Super Bowl. We'll move and kind of switch gears a little bit to the Cardinals, a kind of a sleeper team in this division, if you will. Kind of they had it all last year, and then they hit a really bad road bump and lost it all. Um, what do you see in this draft? We kind of think the same about it.
I see two top 20 guys that you got in your first two picks on the side of the ball that you needed the most help on. And then you invested multiple other picks with a guy like Jordan Birch out of Oregon, who we both like. Cody Simon, a guy who's going to go play linebacker for you in a room where you need more linebackers. Denzel Burke, a guy who's had good years behind him, hasn't played his best ball lately. Again, another guy you're going to bet on. Like you invested in that defense heavily, and I think that's going to pay off. I think you got some really talented players, and I think this draft is going to look really good in a couple of years. I feel like you get not only a lot of role players. Who knows what's going to happen with Will Johnson? If he's anything like you and me expect him to be, you
Yeah,
got yourself a really, really, really good corner.
they got to steal the draft, in my opinion. I wasn't very high on the Walter Nolan pick at first, but regardless of how I feel about him, you could add Will Johnson in the first and Nolan in the second, and that would have been great. So it's the same type of thing there with this Cardinals team, like Jordan Birch, like you said, like Cody Simon. My main concern is just this offense needs to be more explosive than it has been. You got some playmakers all around. You have Kyler, James Conner, you have
Mark.
Marv, and it just has not looked explosive at all. And I'm expecting a massive jump, sophomore jump from Marvin Harrison Jr., but just not addressing the offense really at all. No skill positions. That's kind of what weighed the grade down a little bit for me. I think they did a good job of picking the right defensive guys. So this defense better be good at the end of the day. If you're going to go through all of that, you can see so much turnover on that defense and really nothing on that offense. How are they going to be able to? How can they compromise all of that and really balance this team out? Because I don't think that offense was that good to literally do nothing with it this offseason.
I completely agree. I think, and as good of a running back class as it was, for you to have an aging James
Yep.
Conner, and a Trey Benson that didn't show much last year. Like you needed to invest in a running back at least at some point. There were plenty of good backs you could have gotten in the fifth, sixth, seventh round that you
Yeah.
didn't choose to get. And I think like how much better would this team be with a Jaden Blue in that backfield, or a Bashal Tutin in that backfield, some speedy guy that would add a different dynamic, like you said, to the like an explosive aspect to this offense. I'm with you. Marv is going to take another
Yeah.
step higher.
He has to.
He will. Like he's too talented not
Yeah.
to. And then I think that Josh Sweat signing is something that should be talked about more. I
Yep.
think that's going to be fantastic. Another good thing they got on that defense. Their mission this offseason was to improve the defense, and boy, did they improve that defense. That is a much, much better defense than what it was last year.
I think they hit it out of the park. Really just free, just bringing in, Calais Campbell. It's a legacy guy right there. Dalvin Tomlinson. Obviously talking about Josh Sweat. Even Jacoby Brissett. I really like that as a backup. And I just like what they did, but like really what they did all around. I really like this draft. It's just like I don't know, just the fact that they didn't do anything in the offense really concerns me. That must they did nothing at receiver. Um, I don't think Michael Wilson's that good. I don't think Greg Dortch is that good. Zay Jones, obviously coming off of, I don't even know where he's been. They must really trust Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. That's what I'm seeing. But Kyler is on the hot seat. He's one of those quarterbacks you can throw him up there with Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams is getting pressure, but Kyler Murray's up there, and if this is up there with Dak Prescott. Like you need a good year from Kyler Murray for him to consistently be this quarterback for this team. And I just don't know how much you can help him when you don't do anything on offense. So that is just a bummer. Um, but I think, yep, Will Johnson slides right in there. What do you think of Walter Nolan? Is he a defensive end like it's projecting here? Obviously, they have the nose build, and you
Yeah.
have Tomlinson. So I'm assuming you're thinking more defensive end.
I think he's going to start at defensive end, and I think you'll play him at nose tackle. I think he's too athletic to not take advantage at that nose tackle position. He's not an every down nose tackle, but that's why you have other guys in there that can play that position. I think he'll slide inside on third down, but he is going to be very good, and I think it's amazing to have a guy like Calais Campbell in there that to mentor him, a veteran, because he is still very raw. He
Yep.
still has a lot to earn and a lot to prove, and a lot to improve on. So it's good to have a veteran like that to help him out along that way.
That's a very underrated aspect of all these teams. B plus, talk to me about your five picks.
Yeah, I mean, Will Johnson, favorite pick, best value, maybe of the entire draft outside of Mike Green with the Ravens. Maybe even up there with that. Just an amazing player, amazing pick, at an amazing value. So that's an A plus plus pick in that aspect. Draft Diamond Jordan Birch, a guy that I like out of Oregon. He's going to be definitely a defensive end on this, or definitely an outside linebacker on this 3-4 scheme, but a guy that is going to be really good, I think, over the next few years. And then, sleeper Cody Simon, like we talked about, they need some guys in that linebacker room, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to step up. And then year one impact, Walter Nolan. He's like we've talked about before. Like I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to be really impactful on that defensive line and just be a absolute hog molly that you're going to have to figure out how to take care of.
And being able to play multiple positions like you saw there. Um, Will Johnson, obviously, got him here at three of those positions. I think he's going to be the best player in this draft for the Cardinals. I think he's going to stay with the Cardinals for a very long time. Top sleeper Jordan Birch, as we talked about. And then year one impact, Walter Nolan. I just think that he's going to have a really underrated year. Um, how do we think this Cardinals team is really going to stack up in I wouldn't call it a loaded NFC West, but it's a competitive one because kind of all teams are kind of digressing at the same time.
Yeah. I think their range. is anything other than winning the division. I don't see a world where they win the division this year. But it wouldn't shock me if they finish second, and it wouldn't shock me if they finish fourth.
Yeah.
It is definitely the team that I'm least confident in the coaching staff. I have way more confidence in all other three coaching staff in this division. And then, you've probably got one of the biggest question marks at quarterback, not knowing what you're going to get there. But they have an identity. I love what they're trending towards with the defensive identity. And then, you know, with a hot Marv and a hot Kyler, I think they could make some noise, but I would doubt it. I don't see a world where they're going to be too hot this season.
I would have to agree with you. They're competitive. They shave some games off of division opponents every year. It'll be interesting to see what kind of they go to. Um, but let's talk about a team that is going to win the division next. My Seattle Seahawks. I got big, big,
Man,
big, really exciting um, plans for this team. We both gave them A's.
what a
I think
draft.
they did great. It's just a great draft. They're one of the few teams that also does it really well as of late. You look at Gray Zabel, just the need from the heavens that we've needed for so long. It's an offensive guard, been praying for 3 years now, and he finally delivered. John Schneider, thank you for that. And then just Nicky Malwari just falling to us. One of the more athletic dudes in this draft. I had a 23rd overall. We got him at number 35. That's crazy to me. Elijah Arroyo, I think we'll talk about him soon here. That's an underrated pick. And then the big one, Jalen Milroe. Can't say it enough. They got their franchise quarterback, and he's going to sit behind Sam Darnold, and it's going to be amazing. And the whole
Maybe
league
he
should
might
be.
he might be sitting behind Darnold. I've heard some stuff that he's balling in camp
That's
right.
what I heard too. That's what I heard too. And I know that's your dude, your Alabama dude. You tell me, what do you see in this draft?
I see a awesome draft. This is a awesome draft. And the only reason it's not an A plus is because I think you I don't want to say burned.
Yep,
Burned seems mean because of their day three picks, but I think you could have used those day three picks a lot better.
yep,
But good Lord, like Zabel in the first, Eamon Warren in the second, Milrow. Like I love the Mills pick. I love the Horton pick. Like, I mean, is so good. There is a real chance we look back 5 years from now and you have your starting quarterback, you have an all-pro level guard, and you have one of the best safeties in the league. And I don't think I think that would be more likely than not to
yeah.
end up in that situation. That is, and when you do a draft like that, like that's best case scenario. Like it is absolutely a killer draft.
I think it's very comparable to the 2022 draft, where if you're looking at the depth chart, they took this man right here, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then they took this man right here, Devon Witherspoon, and then others. They got Boye Mafe in that draft. They got Derek Hall in that draft. They had so many other studs in that draft. I'm pretty sure Kenneth Walker was in there and Charbonnet, or maybe that was a different draft. I don't remember, but that was a great draft. It's very comparable to that. This roster, completely different. That's the big thing here. You do the massive trades for Geno Smith, sending him out and aging Geno Smith. It was ultimately time. And then the surprising one with DK Metcalf, where they got a second round pick for him. I think the notable thing is you flip the third round pick for Geno. It was used on Jalen Milroe. We'll be talking about that for a long time once this man pans out. But what do you see in this kind of new revamped Seahawks team that kind of looks like they're building something?
Yeah, I mean, I love what y'all are doing with the receiving core. I think will it last forever with Cup and MVS? No, but it's a good stopgap for where you're at this season. But you all have also made it very clear, like, yes, we want to win now, but we're looking towards the future. Like this team is building towards handing the keys over to Milrow, like having JSN move up to a top tier receiver, like this O line start to settle in, like you've got a great young defense with a great young head coach. Like this, it's funny to think that like yes, this team can compete now, but like the Seahawks 4 years from now is a terrifying prospect. It's
Yes.
terrifying to think of a team like that.
And it's awesome to kind of see the the move for Sam Darnold. We weren't sure what they were going to do after the trade for Geno, and then they made it apparently clear. And kind of not much of an upgrade. Maybe if you're ranking him, maybe one or two after the year that Darnold had, I would maybe say he's one or two quarterbacks better in the league than Geno Smith, but just age difference alone gives you just a better, more competitive player. And if you can do anything like what he did last year on that coaching staff, where you can get him together and make him play the way he did to lead those 14-3 Vikings, we're gonna have a serious problem on this hands really early, not to mention Milrow sitting there. Um, I'm super excited for this team. You see DeMarcus Lawrence here. Um, and you mentioned the stopgap at receivers, like that's really underrated. Usually when you just completely revamp that, it's usually not going to look too good. But they did a really good job of kind of just. I really like the MVS. I feel like he's going to be a threat. And then of course you get the two guys in the draft who can also contribute. That'll ultimately be really awesome. Talk to me about your picks.
Yeah, I mean, Milrow's my favorite pick. Probably a top two pick in the whole draft for every
Yep.
team for me. Draft Diamond Riley Mills, a guy I think that, when, it is just Murphy on that interior, I think Riley Mills can step in and
Yeah.
maybe not this year, maybe a year from now. But great athlete, a guy that has some more developing to do. Best value, Eman Wari. Just a great guy at a great value. Can't believe y'all got him in the second round. Top sleeper, Torrey Horton. Is he going to get a bunch of impact this year? Maybe not with a crowded, more veteran angled receiving room, but maybe next year he's a guy that can step into that role once it's a little bit, there's a role carved out for him. And then year one impact, Gray's able is going to come in and start and be an absolute boss in the middle of that offensive line.
Gonna be awesome to see. Kind of on the similar track with you. I love the Miller pick, just like you said, top two pick. I mean, in terms of fit and a player going to a team, like this was literally the perfect match out of everyone in the draft. He went to the perfect team. He's going to be a stud here. It is very reminiscent of the Russell Wilson thing when he came in the league after a big contract was given to Matt Flynn. Um, and I mean, the way you've been talking, the way that the press has been talking, they're saying we may see Milrow sooner than we think. That would be crazy. But that's exactly what happened with Russell Wilson
You
coming
can't
third
keep him off
round.
the field, man. You can't
Yeah.
keep him off the field.
I think they're gonna have to put some package in for him. He's too good of an athlete. But regardless of what it is, we're gonna have this big man, Gray Zabel, blocking for him. I love this dude. I think he's gonna be have the best career of all of them. He's gonna be here for 10, 12, maybe 15 years. Um, Obviously, Nikki E, best value. I mean, just getting him the way you did and being able to pair him with not only Spoon and Woolen, but really Julian Love and Kobe Bryant back there. That's five stud players in that secondary. You're looking at Legion of Boom 2.0. And then I'll talk about him right here. Elijah Arroyo, the top sleeper here. We'll go back to kind of the depth chart. And yeah, you took Elijah Arroyo here as a tight end. But you have Noah Fant, AJ Barner, your guys. I feel like Noah Fant had a down year last year. Barner's a really good blocker. Um, you got two good tight ends. I would not be surprised if Elijah Arroyo slides in somewhere in kind of like this X position, kind of similar to what DK was. You don't have that anymore. You're right here. You're kind of slotting Cooper Kupp here as an outside receiver. Um, if you give that to JSN or not is the question. But regardless, that's a slot receiver playing outside. And MVS kind of also resembles that slot player also. So I think Elijah Arroyo has an opportunity to be the X receiver here. I don't see anybody else taking that away from him, and I think that's why they took him in the second round. Um, it's a good day to be a Seahawks fan. I will say that. It's an even better day when the San Francisco 49ers pay Brock Purdy that much money and they lose everything this offseason. Tough offseason for them. Two different opinions on their draft. Talk to me about your C minus draft for San Fran.
Yeah, I mean, every pick realistically was not every pick, but most of these picks were reaches in my books. There's three really good picks that I like, and it's Michael, it's Alfred Collins, and it's CJ West. Other than that, like with guys like Nick Martin, I guy like Upton Stout, who I know you like whether or not they work out or not, like these guys are undersized, these guys are outliers. And
Yep.
when you are in a position where you need to get good players in because you left a lot of good players out, like I'm not sure how I feel about taking outliers at important picks like that.
Yep.
And so, is Michael ready? No, but I think he's going to be fine. And Alfred Collins and CJ West are really great floor players that are going to stop the run. I don't know if they're ready to like be an impact player on your team. They're good role players. So you got two good role players and you burned picks. Like you
Literally. The
burned,
last five picks are just burned to me.
burned them.
Like I don't understand this direction. I clearly see a direction in the first six picks. Uh, but other than that, those first five picks, that's a good core. But for having 11 picks and the last six being really unnotable, specifically the last four being like not at all. You're just burning picks. I mean, when you're taking three people in the seventh round, you got to know that they just couldn't get rid of those picks, or I don't know how they even got them. But not very high on that at all.
It's
We'll kind of
also
go.
like there's an aspect of like when you need there's a very clear dilemma going on with the depth chart. You can move on to the depth chart. Like looking at that offensive line, like
This shocked me. It honestly really shocked me that they did
not
nothing for it.
it's- that's the thing is you
It's
did
crazy to me.
nothing to address it. Nothing. And I don't know how long Trent Williams is going to be there.
That's
And
what
I
I'm
don't know
saying.
if anybody on that offensive line is going to be even average this year.
I have
It's
no idea who Ben Barch is.
bad.
All due respect.
And
Um,
did nothing to address it. Nothing.
I mean, I had mocks, them taking Membu, like early mocks, but he was very clear after that first month that they would be taking defense. And I mean, by the signs of it, they took defense. I don't think the defense was that bad last year. And obviously they lost a lot. They're trying to like kind of regroup and everything, but they did nothing on the offensive side of the ball at all besides Jordan Watkins as a receiver who's like a receiver 4, 5, maybe even six. Um, I don't get it. They brought in, I don't even know who they brought in. They brought in Mac Jones. That's I guess a notable name. Trey Brown, ex-Seahawk at corner. I, I don't know what to say. Like honestly, and I'm not trying to hate on them because I'm a Seahawks fan and it's Niners, but like I don't know how great of a job they did. Kind of regrouping from what they lost. I think kind of a notable thing is, you lost corners and safeties and didn't really address that. You addressed mainly line. Um, so I really like the Nick Martin pick. I think he'll slide in there really well for the Dre Greenlaw loss. Other than that, though, they didn't address anything in the secondary, and that's got to be worrisome.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially,
when you have that, like when you have a massive
yeah,
scare on the offensive line and you have like really bad needs in the secondary and you choose defensive line and defensive edge as your
yeah,
priority picks, I don't know, man. It's just it's less of like did they get some good players? Yes, they got a couple good players.
yes,
It's the way they use the assets and the direction that they went was just really bad. Like it was really bad. There was a lot of different ways they needed to go, and they didn't. They went in a direction that may or may not work out for them.
yeah. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what they do there. They did obviously sign Purdy to that contract. Large money. I personally do not think that much money, he's worth that much money. What do you think about the Brock Purdy money?
I think A, it was too much money, and B, I don't even know if he's. I, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks you could put in that system that I think would succeed.
Exactly.
he's not a game changer at all. He's a distributor behind what only we've ever seen with good weapons and a good offensive line, and now he
Yep.
has neither of those. He has one good weapon in Brandon Ayuk. I don't think Christian McCaffrey has much left in the tank, if anything left in the tank. So you have a bad running back room and you have a mid receiving room with a bad offensive line.
Yep.
So good luck, Brock Purdy. Good luck.
Like it's just and they just signed Kittle, aging Kittle to a pretty big contract.
Huge contract.
It's just like, man, it's interesting. I think it is safe to say that the San Francisco 49ers window has closed. We'll kind of get into their picks here. What did you see for this Niners team?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Michael Williams player. Um, I don't love the pick, which shows you that because I have it as my favorite pick, that shows you how bad I am on this draft.
Yeah,
Draft Diamond CJ West. I think he's going to be a guy that contributes for them. I really do like Jordan James in this offense. He kind of plays the pass catching role that CMC plays really well. And I think he's going to be able to come in and contribute in an offense that needs some weapons. And then Alfred Collins is going to come in. He's going to be their DT. One, if not two, very high floor player. Not a great ceiling, not a great athlete, but very technically sound. Going to be in a good position to make a good amount of impact this season.
I would have to agree with you there. I rated it a little bit higher. I give it a B because I do think that they hit on their first five picks, all of them. I think all of their guys, you go back, I think they hit on Michael, Collins, Martin, Stout, and West. The rest, dumpster fire. Um, but I think they truly hit based on kind of, I just know that their system is going to produce some really good players that come out of that. Just with Salah coming back, I think that's gonna kind of revamp this defense. And clearly he had his paws on this
Yeah.
draft process. My favorite pick was Stout. I said he was one of the best tacklers coming into this draft, and I'll stand by that. I think he's got some real talent. I had him more as a safety. It'll be interesting. He'll probably play nickel. Um, I think the draft diamond is Nick Martin. I think Nick Martin's going to fill in what, like I said, Greenlaw was, and I think he's going to do a phenomenal job of that. Just knowing how Salah kind of fosters his linebackers, and really just heads of the defense, if you will. Best value, CJ West. They got him considerably late, and I didn't have him ranked, but I know you did. He was just outside my 150, but they got him in a really good round, so I can't hate on that. Top sleeper, Collins. I think Collins could be a really good player for them if they shove him in there and let him build off of what they got with Michael and Bosa. And then I think Michael's going to literally be thrown into the fire to start right away, which is what I will call the year one impact for 49ers. Is there a clear winner in this offseason for the NFC West?
Yeah, you know who it is.
Who is it?
It's the Seahawks, man. Like, is not even close. I mean, the draft was fantastic. I love the moves that they made in the offseason. I love the way they replaced the Metcalf trade and supplemented that. And then obviously the Darnold signing headlines, all of those things. I mean, did the team get that much better from last year to this year? I don't know. Did the team get that much better 3 years from now?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that is the sign of a healthy organization from top to bottom. And yeah, it's like you said, it's a good day to be a Seahawks fan, man.
I think it's awesome what they've done. We 10-6 last year. 10-7, sorry. Just literally was the one team on the outskirts of that playoffs. Kind of literally had the worst pick in the draft at 18, because you're not low enough to get a high draft pick, but then you're not good enough to make the playoffs. That was kind of tough last year. But just seeing what McDonald did with really that team, and he cut ties with um their coordinator, and their offensive line coach. And this is stuff that kind of didn't really happen as much when Pete was around. I feel like Pete aging was a necessary thing. We love Pete and we hope he does well in Vegas. But I just think it's really cool to see just the direction that McDonald is taking with this team, and um, finally drafting a guard. Thank God. Um, and I think that'll really help us. I would have to agree. They're the winners. Non-biased opinion there. Um, in terms of losers, it has to be the Niners. Just from the sheer amount that they lost, and then just having an average draft. I think that Cardinals had a better draft. Seahawks had a better draft. I think the Rams had a worse draft. However, the fact that they lost that much, and the fact that they paid guys who probably shouldn't have gotten paid as much money as they did, that's to me just screams loser. What do you got to say about that, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, to add on to the Rams conversation, the Rams had 6 picks and the Niners had 11. And the Niners still were kind of in the conversation for like,
Yeah,
really a worse draft. Like it was,
yeah,
I don't know. It's definitely like kind of like the conversation we had with the Giants. Like it's they got the most worse out of any team from this division.
yes, for sure.
They got significantly worse, and they were not good last year. So, but yeah, I mean, going back to these over unders, I think the Niners one's tough. I think I'm going to take the under. And then with the Rams, I think I'm also going to take the under. I think I see an 8 and 9 team-ish this season with them. Hawks, I'm going to take the over. Cardinals, I'm going to take I'm going to take the over, I think. I think they might surprise some people, but like we talked about earlier, like I don't think the ceiling's that high with them. But a 9-8 season, 10-7 season would not shock me coming from the Cardinals this season.
I would have to agree with everything you just said. 100%. I get the 10.5 easiest strength schedule in the league. I think really last year for the Niners team, we saw a glimpse of what really is going to start happening, regardless of Brock Purdy's injury or whatever last year. So I'm definitely taking the under on them. Rams are the tough one. I would probably put it at 9. I think you're going to see a regressing Matthew Stafford, to no fault of his own, but just I don't know how good Devontae Adams is going to be able to supplement them. I will say though, coaching wise, will get them over the hump, potentially to 10 wins. They've hovered around the 10-9 mark pretty much the last 5 years consistently. So this is a great line for them, but I am going to go under. Seattle, I'm going over. This one first came out at 7.5, and I was freaking out because I was like, that's ridiculous. Just complete disrespect after winning 10 games last year. But even at 8.5, I'm taking the over. I think they're going to really shock some people this year, with their kind of revamped team. And then I'm also going to go with the over on the Cardinals. I think they will also shock teams. I think for the first time in a while, we will see the Rams and the Niners at the bottom of the division at the same time. Usually you don't. Usually there's one at the top, one at the bottom. It's been like that for a decade. I think we're going to see a complete shift, and you're going to see kind of the Seahawks and the Cardinals, the Birds, if you will, are going to step it up. Um, Super excited to see really what this NFC West turns into, because it's going to be a really entertaining division. Um, Compared to the other ones in the NFC, they're kind of more. There's probably some stronger teams, but this is just competitive football in the NFC West, and I think you'll get that week 1 when Seattle's playing the Niners. And I'm super excited to see that. And that'll be it for another edition of Division Draftables. Mika the Draft Guy and Peyton Dunn. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Continue to stay updated for any news and announcements as we move to the AFC Division Draftables. That'll be all for me. Pete, you got anything?
Don't. This was fun, man.
Awesome. Thank you guys. We will see you soon.